There was silence on the line. I continued, our company employs administrative writers, social security and labor consultants, as well as tax accountants who do clerical work for our clients. This is especially popular among the presidents of companies that run their businesses alone. My mind was awash with the usual flow of information, as if thousands of facts and details concerning my work and those I served were being extracted from the archive of memory. These presidents were busy with sales and didn't have time for clerical work. Of course, we took care of all their tax affairs. I let out a strangled sigh. I work in the tax department, I repeated. As if that wasn't enough, I qualified as an accountant back in my school years. That's why I joined this company. But now, everything has changed. 5 months ago, Riley, my former colleague, suddenly turned into my supervisor. His tone became arrogant, even condescending. Riley is 6 years younger than me, and his promotion has changed everything. He did not hide his new attitude, always finding a moment for sarcasm or complaints. Nickel, what are you doing? Do your nerves relax during working hours? He spoke with false politeness. I silently endured his antics, looking at documents on tax-saving strategies for our clients. When I answered, Riley remained calm, as if he knew something I didn't. Just look at it in the manual. Don't do anything unnecessary, and if you have to work overtime, don't expect to get paid for it, he said one day, casually looking at me across the table. Unable to answer, I heard Cornelia's assistant say to Riley, you should work more efficiently. You'll never finish at this rate, that's why you're still a regular employee. Cornelia laughed mockingly, as if these words contained the truth, which I could not and did not want to accept. I was the first to be offered a promotion to head of the department, but I refused. Becoming the head meant more time to manage and less time to interact with clients, which I valued the most. It was an internal offer, and that's why neither Riley nor Cornelia was able to take advantage of this chance. I knew they didn't know about it, and maybe that was the reason they were unhappy with me. But I continued to carry out my usual duties, trying to distance myself from their attacks. The harassment from Riley and Cornelia did not stop. They interfered with my work with renewed vigor, and I had to increase the amount of overtime again. This morning, as if to finish me off, I heard Riley's angry voice. Nickel, that's enough. Your constant overtime work is dragging on. It's just a waste of time. His words echoed in my ears. Cornelia, as always, watched from the sidelines, not hiding her contempt. The reason for yesterday's overtime was absurdly simple. Riley had accumulated monthly declaration forms that needed to be submitted by the end of the month. Yesterday, after work, he came up to me, casually throwing, "Take care of it." He left a few customer files on my desk, as if it were a small thing. I turned pale when I saw the pile of documents. All of these clients had deadlines this month. I asked in confusion, "Is that all for this month?" But Riley was already packing his things. "I'm leaving." "Be careful," he said. You can click on share and more to see if there is a part 2. Final update. My company fired me, despite my role in growing its valuation from $200,000 to $35 billion. The boss simply said, "The CEO's daughter is replacing you. You're fired." Hours later, 55 clients canceled $8 billion worth of deals. The CEO showed up at my door, pleading, "Who are you?" They had no idea who I really was. Part 2. Walking briskly towards the exit, Cornelia followed him, not hiding a pleased smile. Everything that was happening seemed incredible, like a mocking performance. I sighed heavily and, feeling increasingly tired, opened the client files I had left. Some of these documents belonged to Cornelia, which depressed me even more. Riley was clearly trying to outlast me, forcing me to retire. I was sure it wasn't just a matter of personal animosity. I had more experience and deeper knowledge in the field of taxation than he did. Other employees of the tax department often came to me for advice, ignoring him. Cornelia stayed by Riley's side. Her company was obvious. He loved young female employees, and that's probably why he wanted to get rid of me. If I were gone, the other employees would have to rely on him more. These thoughts disgusted me, and the realization of their superficiality gave me goosebumps, but the truth remained the same. They both sought to undermine me to strengthen their positions. I took a deeper breath, realizing that I would have to manage all these declarations on my own again. My workload was more than enough, but if I tried to claim overtime pay, I'd be inundated with complaints from Riley and Cornelia. Therefore, I resigned myself to unpaid work, staying late at the office once again after everyone else had left. One day, I was suddenly called to the president's office. It was a moment that alerted me. Our company had recently changed presidents. The father of the former head had suddenly fallen ill and handed over management to his son, who, despite his lack of experience in our company, had to take over the reins. He was unfamiliar with the details of our work and many internal processes. When I entered the president's office, I immediately noticed the grinning faces of Riley and Cornelia. The atmosphere in the room was tense, the air seemed to thicken, and I felt my insides tighten with a premonition of trouble. "Nicole, we need you to resign by the end of this month," the president said, trying to keep his tone neutral. But there was uncertainty in his voice, as if he knew he was saying something illegal. "What do you mean?" I asked, and at that moment, I felt dizzy. I stood in front of the president, trying to suppress the anger and frustration bubbling up inside me. The president gave me a cold look. "I heard from Riley and Cornelia that you overpaid your overtime bill. Other employees of the tax department have about 16 hours of overtime per month, but you have already exceeded 83 hours. Don't you find that strange?" He paused, studying my reaction while Riley and Cornelia sat in the corner, exchanging smug glances. "They don't have any overtime this month at all," the president added, as if this was some kind of indicator of their superiority. The reason was obvious to me. The overtime hours were not the result of my mistakes, but because I was doing their job. But if I said it was Riley's instruction, it would look like an excuse, like my inability to manage time. So I just stated the facts. I didn't exaggerate the amount of overtime. I just couldn't finish my work during regular hours. The president took a deep breath, clearly displeased. I doubt it, but I have no proof, so I won't go into it. However, we cannot continue to hire a person who works so slowly. I want you to resign. These words hit me like a bolt from the blue. I had dedicated my entire 35-year career to this company, and now I was being asked to leave as an unnecessary element. No matter how much I did, no matter how much effort I put in, it was never enough. Instead of being grateful, I was forced to take on Riley and Cornelia's work. Yes, I understand, I said softly, feeling bitterness fill me from the inside. I will resign at the end of this month. These were words that came out of my mouth automatically, without much thought. But I realized I had already made this decision within myself. I glanced at Riley and Cornelia. Their smug smiles literally glowed with triumph. As soon as we left the president's office, Cornelia, not hiding her joy, came up to me and said, "Thanks for leaving." Her grin was almost solemn, as if she had won some kind of competition. I stared at her in silence, feeling my disgust at everything that was happening grow stronger. Riley was standing a little further away, also looking down at me as if he had won. "We're reducing labor costs," he added easily, demonstrating his indifference. "We don't need someone who uses overtime pay in our company." It seemed like their only mission was to get rid of me, and they enjoyed every second of it. When I returned to my desk, I no longer felt the same strength and energy. Their gloating was depressing, but I had to continue. I started creating documents to transfer all my clients. The transfer of cases is an important process, and I wasn't going to leave the work unfinished. I didn't miss the opportunity to say goodbye to the clients I'd managed for so many years. Many of them had become almost friends. For those I couldn't meet in person, I arranged telephone conversations or sent letters with notifications about my successor. When the day of my departure finally came, I returned home. I had time to rest, too much time. I was so busy transferring cases that I hadn't even realized how tired I was. Now that it was over, I allowed myself to relax for the first time. But soon, this peace was broken. My phone rang, and the name of the company appeared on the screen. I decided not to answer. I gave it to them, didn't I? Social Security had been settled, and customers had been notified. But the calls continued. The phone rang a few more times, and among the calls, I noticed Riley and Cornelia's personal numbers. Did they really think I'd pick up the phone when I saw their names? Finally, I reluctantly answered. "Hi, Nicole, this is a mess right now," the president said the moment I picked up the phone. "Who exactly are you?" His voice was full of anxiety. I laughed mockingly in response. "Who am I? I'm nobody. Just an unemployed lady who has already left the company." But the president continued, his tone becoming more and more tense. "Since you left, we have received 55 calls from customers demanding that all transactions with our company be terminated. Please return immediately." With that, he quickly hung up.